The morning light hits the glass panels like a blessing. Abigail Larson stands at the floor-to-ceiling windows of her cabin, coffee warming her hands, watching the Oregon pines sway 300 feet below. The forest stretches endlessly, 60 acres of wilderness she owns outright. No mortgage, no compromises, no apologies. She built this. Every beam, every joint, every solar panel feeding power to a structure her parents said she'd never create. They said she'd never build anything that lasts. So she built a life they can't touch. Her phone buzzes on the reclaimed wood counter. A text from Sophia. "Nice house. Does Dad know?" Abigail doesn't respond. She's learned that silence is its own kind of power. Instead, she sips her coffee French roast, the expensive kind she buys without checking the price, and watches a hawk circle overhead. The cabin is a masterpiece. Sustainable design. Geothermal heating. Rainwater collection. Passive solar. Every engineer's dream. Every architect's envy. 2,000 square feet of proof that she was never the failure they claimed she was. She hears them before she sees them. The crunch of gravel on her private drive, the purr of an engine that costs more than most people's annual salary. Through the trees, a silver Lexus appears, picking its way carefully up the mountain road like it's afraid of getting dirty. Abigail sets down her coffee and allows herself a smile. She's been expecting this. Richard and Margaret Larson emerge from the Lexus like they're stepping onto a stage. Her father in his tailored suit, charcoal gray, always charcoal gray. Her mother in cashmere and pearls, her blonde hair perfectly styled despite the hour-long drive from Portland. They look around the property with expressions Abigail knows too well. Judgment, calculation. The same look they gave her growing up, measuring her worth and finding her lacking. Sophia climbs out of the back seat, designer sunglasses hiding her eyes, but Abigail can feel her sister's shock from 50 feet away. Abigail opens the front door before they knock. Power move number 1. Never let them think they have control. "Mom, Dad, Sophia." Her voice is steady, neutral. This is unexpected. Margaret's smile is tight, painted on. "We heard through the grapevine that you'd built something out here. Thought we'd come see what our daughter's been up to." Our daughter. Like they have any claim to who she's become. "Come in," Abigail says, stepping aside. They enter slowly, eyes scanning everything. The exposed beams, the custom ironwork, the architect's drawings framed on the walls, her designs, her patents, her innovations. The cabin smells like cedar and coffee and success. Richard stops at the window, looking out at the view. Must have cost a fortune to build this far out. It did. Abigail doesn't elaborate. Doesn't need to. Margaret runs her hand along the kitchen counter quartz. Locally sourced, seamless. "So this is where all that useless independence got you." There it is. The poison wrapped in civility. The dig disguised as observation. Abigail's had 5 years to prepare for this moment. 5 years since she asked them for $50,000 to launch her sustainable design company. $50,000, barely a dent in their wealth. A fraction of what they spent remodeling their pool house. They'd laughed, called it a pipe dream, said structural engineering was a man's field, and her ideas were too radical, too risky, too Abigail. 2 months later, they gave Sophia $200,000. Cash, no questions asked. Down payment on a house in the Pearl District, the kind of neighborhood where Abigail could never afford to breathe. "We're investing in Sophia's future," Margaret had said. "She has a real career, real prospects." Abigail had walked away from that conversation and never looked back. Now she walks to her laptop, opens it with deliberate slowness. Her parents watch, confusion starting to cloud their superiority. "Since you're here," Abigail says, "there's something you should see." She connects the laptop to the projector. Yes, she has a projector in her cabin, because when you design your dream home, you include everything. The white wall beside the fireplace lights up with a spreadsheet. Harper and Larson Consulting. Her parents' firm. Tax documents, financial records, numbers that tell a very specific story. Richard's face goes pale. "What is this? Where did you get?" $340,000 in unreported income over the past 4 years. Abigail's voice is clinical, precise. The engineer showing her work. Offshore accounts, shell companies, creative bookkeeping. The IRS would be very interested. Margaret grips the back of the couch. "You're bluffing. You couldn't possibly." I'm a structural engineer, Mom. I'm very good at finding weaknesses in foundations. Abigail crosses her arms, leans against her custom-built kitchen island. Yours is crumbling. Sophia's at the door now, having heard everything. Her face is white, her designer sunglasses dangling from her hand. Who gave you this information? Richard's voice is dangerous, low. Who the hell? Does it matter? Abigail interrupts. It's accurate, it's documented, and it's one phone call away from being filed with the appropriate authorities. The air in the cabin goes thin. Outside, the hawk circles lower, hunting. Margaret finds her voice first. You wouldn't. We're your family. Abigail laughs short, sharp, bitter. You're my parents. There's a difference. Family doesn't humiliate you at every opportunity. Family doesn't call you a failure while funding your sister's Instagram perfect life. Family doesn't give you 23 cents on the dollar and call it love. Abigail Richards starts, but she cuts him off with a raised hand. If you're going to question my success, you should clean your books first. She closes the laptop. The projector goes dark. I think we're done here. Richard's face turns purple. You ungrateful little, this is extortion. This is me protecting what I built. Abigail walks to the door, opens it. Cold Oregon air rushes in, smelling like pine and rain. Drive carefully. The road gets dangerous when you're distracted. Sophia moves first, practically running to the Lexus. Margaret follows, her heels clicking on the hardwood, her composure cracking with every step. Richard stops at the threshold, his face inches from Abigail's. You'll regret this. I'll make sure you regret this. Abigail meets his eyes without flinching. The only thing I regret is wasting 30 years thinking you might actually be proud of me. He leaves. The Lexus roars to life, tires spitting gravel as they speed away from the cabin, from the truth, from the daughter who stopped being afraid. Abigail closes the door. The silence is profound, beautiful. Her phone rings. Ethan, her business partner, her friend, the one who believed in her when no one else would. How'd it go? He asks. Abigail looks around her cabin, her sanctuary, her triumph, her middle finger to everyone who underestimated her. Phase 1 complete, she says. Let's move to Phase 2. 6 months earlier, Portland in February. Rain hammering the windows of Richard Larson's corner office like it's trying to break through. Abigail sits across from her parents, blueprints spread on the mahogany desk between them. Her hands are steady even though her heart is racing. This is it, the pitch she's rehearsed 100 times. The future she can see so clearly it might as well already exist. Sustainable residential design, she says, pointing to the renderings. Modular systems, net zero energy, affordable, scalable, beautiful. Ethan and I have the engineering background, the contacts, the vision. We just need seed capital, $50,000. Richard doesn't even look at the blueprints. He's scrolling through his phone, bored already. Margaret sips her tea, Earl Grey. Always Earl Grey, and her smile is patronizing. Abigail, darling, that's very ambitious. But Sophia's buying a house. That's a real investment. Something tangible. This is tangible. Abigail's voice stays level, professional. These are engineered designs, patent-pending systems, market research showing. Sophia needs help with her down payment. Richard finally looks up, and his eyes are dismissive. The Pearl District doesn't come cheap. We're transferring $200,000 to her account tomorrow. The number hits like a physical blow. $200,000. 4 times what Abigail's asking for. 4 times what would change her entire life. I'm only asking for 50, Abigail says quietly. Margaret reaches across the desk, pats her hand like she's a child who doesn't understand adult conversations. You were always the practical one, dear, not the visionary. Stick to what you're good at, working for other people's companies, following someone else's blueprints. Leave the big dreams to Sophia. The practical one, not the visionary. The words follow Abigail out of the office, through the rain, onto the bus she takes because her 12-year-old Honda finally died last month. They echo in her head all the way back to her studio apartment in Southeast Portland, 600 square feet, neighbors who fight through the walls, a view of a parking lot. She spreads the blueprints on her kitchen table, the table she bought at Goodwill for $20. Pours herself a glass of wine, the $7 kind from Trader Joe's, the kind that tastes like disappointment and broken promises. Her phone buzzes. Sophia's Instagram story. A photo of a house key with the caption, "New beginnings. Thanks Mom and Dad for believing in me. Blessed beyond measure." Abigail stares at the photo until her vision blurs. $200,000. For believing in Sophia. For a house she'll probably redecorate twice before she's happy. For a daughter who's never built anything, never created anything, never had to prove her worth. The knock on her door is soft. She knows it's Ethan before she opens it. He's the only person who checks on her, who cares enough to show up when things fall apart. Ethan Cole, fellow structural engineer, best friend since college, the one who believed in her vision when everyone else saw pipe dreams. He takes one look at her face and doesn't need to ask. They said no. Abigail nods, doesn't trust her voice. Ethan steps inside, closes the door, looks at the blueprints spread across her table. Then we do it ourselves. Ethan, we can't. We can. He sits down, pulls the drawings toward him. We've both got savings, not much but some. We find land. We build a prototype. We prove them wrong. That's insane. That's survival. Ethan meets her eyes, and there's something fierce there, something that refuses to accept defeat. You're the best engineer I know, Abby, the best designer, the best problem solver. Your parents are idiots for not seeing it. So we'll build something so incredible, so undeniable, that they'll have to see it. Abigail looks at her blueprints, at the wine glass, at the ceiling that leaks when it rains, at the choice in front of her, give up or build something from nothing. Let's do it, she whispers. The montage plays like a movie. Abigail and Ethan scouring land listings, finding 60 acres in the Cascade foothills for less than Sophia's down payment, pooling their savings $40,000 between them, every penny they have, breaking ground in March with borrowed tools and YouTube tutorials, building in the rain, in the snow, in the brutal Oregon spring that tries to wash away their foundation before it sets. Abigail with a nail gun, hair tied back, safety glasses on, looking nothing like the failure her parents labeled her. Ethan framing walls, his engineering degree finally applied to something that matters. Both of them covered in sawdust and mud and possibility. They work weekends, evenings, every spare moment. The cabin rises from the forest floor like something inevitable, something that was always meant to exist. There's a photo Ethan takes in November, Abigail standing in front of the nearly complete structure, the first snow falling, her smile tired but triumphant. The caption he never posts, built from pain and pride. Meanwhile, 300 miles away in Portland, Sophia's house becomes an Instagram shrine. Renovation updates, furniture hauls, housewarming parties with catered food and champagne. Comments flood in, living your best life, you deserve it. Goals. Abigail doesn't follow her sister anymore. Doesn't need the comparison. She's too busy building something real. But she does notice when the tax investigation starts. When Richard's company, Harper and Larson Consulting, gets flagged by the IRS. When the news starts circulating through Portland's business community that something's not right with the Larson family finances, she notices because she's the one who sent the email. 3 years working in her father's firm before she went independent. 3 years of access to systems, files, patterns. 3 years of watching creative accounting and offshore transfers and numbers that didn't quite add up. She documented everything. Not for revenge, not then. Just because she's an engineer, and engineers document everything. But when they chose Sophia over her, when they called her practical instead of visionary, when they proved that blood doesn't mean loyalty, those documents became something else. They became justice. The email to the IRS is anonymous, professional, thorough, $340,000 in unreported income, shell companies in the Caymans, falsified expense reports. All of it time-stamped, verified, impossible to dismiss. In the cabin, their cabin, finally complete, Abigail sits by the fireplace they built with their own hands. The flames cast dancing shadows on walls she designed, in a structure that exists because she refused to quit. Ethan brings her tea. Sits beside her. You okay? Abigail thinks about her parents' faces when they saw the cabin, about Richard's threats, about Margaret's condescension finally cracking. She smiles, not happy, exactly, but satisfied, complete. Revenge tastes better slow, she whispers. Outside, the Oregon forest is silent except for the wind in the pines. Inside, the cabin is warm, safe, hers. And this? This is just the beginning. The black Mercedes pulls up to the cabin on a Saturday morning. Abigail watches from the window, coffee in hand, as Sophia emerges with a man she recognizes from Instagram photos. Ryan, the husband. Investment broker, designer suits, and calculated smiles. Ethan's out getting supplies, so it's just Abigail when they knock. We need to talk, Sophia says, not waiting for invitation before stepping inside. Her heels click on the hardwood expensive shoes that cost more than the nails holding this place together. Ryan follows, his eyes scanning the cabin with obvious surprise. This isn't what he expected, not from the family failure. Nice place, he says, and it almost sounds genuine. Sophia's already moving through the space, touching things like she's appraising them. Must be nice, hiding out here in the woods, playing pioneer while the rest of us deal with real life. Abigail sets down her coffee. What do you want, Sophia? Dad's company is being audited. The IRS is crawling through everything. Someone sent them detailed financial records. Sophia turns, and her eyes are sharp, accusatory. Someone who worked there. Someone who knows the system. Sounds like they have good sources. Don't play innocent, Sophia's voice rises. This is you. Your revenge for not getting your precious $50,000. You're trying to destroy our family. I didn't have to try very hard, Abigail says quietly. The destruction was already there. I just documented it. Ryan clears his throat, uncomfortable. He's wandered into Abigail's office, the room where she does her design work, where blueprints and contracts cover every surface. Sophia, maybe we should... He stops. His hand is on a folder, accidentally opened. Inside, bank statements, transfer records, numbers that tell a story he clearly wasn't supposed to see. What is this? Ryan's looking at a highlighted entry. $200,000. Transferred from Margaret Larson to an account under the name David Chen. Notes in the margin. Confidentiality agreement. Final payment. Sophia moves fast, grabbing for the folder. That's private. You have no right. Go ahead, Abigail says, her voice ice cold. Erase it. Delete it. Burn it if you want. But it won't change who you are. It won't change what they paid to hide. Sophia's hands are shaking. The folder falls, papers scattering across the floor. Ryan's backing away, his face a mask of confusion and dawning realization. Sophia, what is she talking about? Nothing. She's lying. She's always been jealous, always trying to... $200,000 to David Chen, Ryan reads from the paper at his feet. Confidentiality agreement regarding biological parentage and extramarital affair, signed by Margaret Larson. He looks at his wife. Sophia, what the hell is this? Sophia's crying now, mascara running, the perfect Instagram facade cracking like cheap porcelain. It's not what you think. My mother, she made a mistake. Years ago, before I was born. Dad forgave her. They worked it out. Dad, Ryan repeats slowly. You mean Richard isn't... He raised me. He's my father in every way that matters. Ryan's already at the door. I need some air. I need to think. Ryan, wait. But he's gone. The Mercedes door slamming. Engine starting. Sophia stands in the cabin, surrounded by the evidence of her family's lies, and the reality hits her like an avalanche. She grabs her phone, dials with shaking fingers. Dad. Abigail has documents. She knows about Mom. She knows about David. Abigail can hear Richard's voice through the phone, yelling. Then another voice, Margaret, demanding to know what's happening. The conversation devolves into chaos. Accusations, denials, and then Margaret's voice, sharp and desperate. She's my daughter. David Chen was my partner at the firm. It was one time. One mistake. Richard, you promised we'd never speak of this. Sophia drops the phone. The call's still connected, her parents arguing in the background, 23 years of secrets spilling out in real time. You ruined my life, Sophia whispers, looking at Abigail. You destroyed everything. I didn't do anything, Abigail says. I just stopped pretending the lies were truth. Sophia runs. The sound of her car tearing down the gravel drive echoes through the forest, then fades to silence. Abigail stands alone in her cabin, papers scattered around her feet, and feels nothing. Not victory, not guilt, just emptiness where family used to be. Her phone rings. Clara Bennett, the lawyer she hired 2 months ago when she knew this storm was coming. I heard, Clara says without preamble. Sophia called Ryan's attorney. She's filing for separation. Your parents are lawyering up for the IRS audit. It's all falling apart exactly like you predicted. Good. You have everything you need to bury them, Abigail. The tax fraud, the cover-up payments, Margaret's affair. We can ensure they never recover from this. Abigail sits down hard on her couch. The couch she built, in the cabin she designed, in the life she created without them. Do I use it? She asks. Or do I just let it burn on its own? Claire is quiet for a moment. That's not a legal question. That's a personal one. Abigail's still processing when her computer pings. An alert from her company's financial system. Unauthorized access. Someone's trying to breach their accounts. She pulls up the security logs, and her blood goes cold. The IP address traces to a location she doesn't recognize, but the username, the one that got past their first firewall, is familiar. Larson 1990. L. Larson. Clara, I'll call you back. Abigail's already typing, tracking the breach attempt. Someone's hacking my company. Who? The security camera footage loads. A coffee shop in Eugene. A man at a laptop, face partially obscured. But when he looks up at the camera, Abigail's heart stops. She knows that face, has seen it in mirrors her entire life. Same eyes, same jawline, same widow's peak hairline. Lucas, she whispers. What? Clara's voice is sharp. Abigail, who's Lucas? My twin brother. The words feel impossible. The one who died when we were 2 years old. Except he's not dead. He's in Eugene, and he's trying to destroy my company. The photo on her screen is undeniable. Lucas Larson, alive, 32 years old, and based on the malware he's attempting to install, very, very angry. Abigail's entire understanding of her family shifts again. The lies go deeper than she thought. The betrayals started earlier than she knew. Clara, she says, her voice steady despite the earthquake inside her chest. Find out everything about Lucas Larson, where he's been, why everyone thinks he's dead, and why he's coming after me now. On it. Abigail closes her laptop and looks around her cabin. The sanctuary she built, the success she achieved, the revenge she planned. All of it suddenly feels fragile, because she wasn't fighting her parents and Sophia. She was fighting a ghost. And ghosts, apparently, fight back. Lucas appears at the cabin 3 days later. No warning, no call, just there, standing at the edge of the tree line, like a ghost made solid. Abigail sees him through the window and her breath catches. The resemblance is impossible to deny. Same dark hair, same sharp cheekbones, same storm gray eyes she sees in her own mirror every morning. Ethan's beside her, hand on her shoulder. Want me to call the cops? No. Abigail opens the door. I need to hear this. Lucas walks forward slowly, hands visible, non-threatening. But there's something coiled about him. Military posture, combat training, a weapon disguised as a man. Hello, sister. His voice is rough, unused to kindness. Hello, Lucas. Abigail doesn't move from the doorway. Come to finish what you started? Destroy my company? Burn down what I built? He stops 10 feet away. I came to understand why you got everything while I got nothing. The pain in his voice is raw, unfiltered. Abigail recognizes it because she's felt it herself, the ache of being unwanted, the wound of being less than. Come inside, she says quietly. Let's talk. They sit at her handmade table. Ethan makes coffee nobody drinks. Lucas stares at the cabin's exposed beams, the custom ironwork, the evidence of Abigail's success. Margaret told me you were dead, Abigail says. Crib death, 2 years old. Dad never talked about you. There were no photos, no grave I could visit. You were just gone. Lucas laughs bitter, broken. I wasn't dead. I was hidden. Sent to live with Margaret's sister in Idaho. Raised by a woman who resented every breath I took because I was proof of her sister's infidelity. Abigail's hands clench around her coffee mug. When I turned 18, Margaret contacted me. Said the family needed help. Said Richard's company was under attack by his ungrateful daughter. Lucas looks at her, and his eyes are full of poison. You, the chosen one, the one who got to stay, who got their name, their attention, their everything. I wasn't chosen, Lucas. Abigail's voice trembles. I was left behind just like you. Do you think it was a gift to grow up with parents who called me a failure? Who gave my sister $200,000 while laughing at my dreams? Who humiliated me at every opportunity? At least you knew them. At least you had a chance. A chance at what? Abuse? Neglect? Being compared to Sophia and found lacking every single day? Abigail leans forward. They destroyed me, Lucas. Slowly, systematically. The only difference between us is geography. The door opens. Clara walks in, briefcase in hand, her lawyer's face already set for battle. I've got the full story, she says, spreading documents on the table. You'll both want to see this. The papers tell a story more twisted than either of them imagined. Margaret's affair with David Chen, the twins conceived. Richard's ultimatum: keep one child, hide the other, or lose everything. She chose you, Lucas says, his voice hollow. She chose the appearance of normalcy, Clara corrects. Birth certificate fraud. Illegal asset division. Lucas was sent away with $50,000 blood money paid to Margaret's sister for silence. You weren't hidden to protect you, Lucas. You were hidden to protect their reputation. Lucas's hands shake. And Richard? Did he know? He orchestrated it. Clara pulls out more documents. He paid for the falsified death certificate, arranged the military recruitment when you aged out of your aunt's care, then brought you back when he needed a weapon against Abigail. The final confrontation happens 3 days later at Richard's mansion in Portland's West Hills, the same house where Abigail grew up feeling small, where family dinners were performances and love was transactional. Now it's a battlefield. Richard stands at the head of the dining table, still trying to command, still believing he's in control. Margaret sits beside him, her face already showing cracks. Sophia's in the corner, mascara stained and broken, her perfect life in ruins. And Lucas, standing by the window, silent, dangerous. Abigail enters with Clara, and the room goes electric. What is this? Richard demands. Some kind of intervention? It's a reckoning. Abigail sets down the investigation report. 300 pages, every lie, every crime, every betrayal, tax fraud, birth certificate forgery, child abandonment, asset concealment. Take your pick. Margaret's hands flutter to her throat. Abigail, please. Please what, Mother? Please pretend Lucas doesn't exist? Please ignore that you gave Sophia blood money meant to hide your affair? Please forget that you sent my twin brother away and told me he was dead? Sophia sobs openly now. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know about any of it. You knew enough. Abigail's voice is steel. You knew you were special, different, chosen. You just didn't care why. Lucas moves then, pulls his phone from his pocket and throws it against the wall. It shatters spectacularly, pieces scattering across the marble floor. You used me, he says to Richard. Made me believe I was helping restore family honor. Made me think Abigail was the enemy. But she was just another victim, just another one of your casualties. The sirens come then, red and blue lights painting the windows. Clara's already at the door, letting them in. Richard Larson, you're under arrest for tax fraud, conspiracy, and falsification of public records. Margaret collapses as they read him his rights. Just falls, crumples, her perfect exterior finally shattered beyond repair. Sophia rushes to her side, crying, begging the officers to wait. But justice doesn't wait. They take Richard in handcuffs. An ambulance arrives for Margaret, not critical, just broken. Sophia follows in her own car, her job already lost, her marriage already dissolved, her future a question mark. Lucas walks to the door, stops, looks back at Abigail. I'm sorry, he says simply, for all of it. Then he's gone, into the Portland night, into a future Abigail hopes is kinder than his past. She stands in the empty mansion, tears streaming down her face. Not from hatred, not from victory, but from finally seeing the truth. They were all victims, all casualties of parents who chose appearance over love, reputation over humanity. The difference is, Abigail survived, and now she's free. 2 years later, sunlight pours through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Larson Green design, painting the exposed timber beams gold. The office is everything Abigail dreamed it would be: sustainable materials, natural light, a space that breathes life instead of stealing it. She stands at the conference table, reviewing blueprints for a housing development in Seattle. 40 units, net zero energy, affordable, revolutionary. The kind of project that makes architects weep and investors rich. The door opens, Ethan walks in carrying coffee, and the platinum band on his left hand catches the light. 6 months married, still feels like a dream. Still feels like the life she was told she'd never deserve. City Council approved the Seattle project, he says, setting down her cup. Unanimous vote. They're calling it the future of urban housing. Abigail allows herself a smile. The company's worth $8 million now. From a rejected $50,000 pitch to this. From failure to phenomenon. Her phone buzzes. Clara, package arrived at your cabin. You'll want to see this one. The package sits on her kitchen table when she gets home. Brown paper, old postal marks. Clara's note attached. Found in estate archives during Richard's bankruptcy proceedings. Eleanor Larson's personal effects. Thought you should have this. Eleanor, Richard's mother. The grandmother Abigail barely knew, dead for 15 years, distant even when alive. Inside the package, a leather journal. Pages yellowed, handwriting elegant and precise. Abigail opens it, and Eleanor's voice reaches across death. September 1985. Richard has become the man I feared he would be. Cruel, status-obsessed. He's marrying Margaret for her family's money, not love. I see the calculation in his eyes. I've set aside a fund, $200,000, to help the women my son will inevitably hurt, because I know he will hurt them. It's in his nature now. Abigail's hands shake as she reads further. The fund is hidden, managed by a trust Clara Bennett's father established. It will grow, compound. Wait for the moment someone needs it to escape my son's toxicity. I couldn't save him from becoming his father, but maybe I can save someone from him. $200,000 in 1985. 40 years of compound interest. Clara calls an hour later. Did you read it? All of it. Abigail's voice is thick with emotion. How much is in the fund now? $1.3 million. And it's yours. Eleanor's will specify it goes to any woman directly harmed by Richard's actions. You qualify. So does Sophia, technically. But Sophia made her choices. Abigail walks to her window, looking out at the forest. This money, Eleanor meant it to help victims of toxic families, women trapped by manipulation and abuse. We use it for that. The Eleanor Initiative, Clara says. I like it. 3 months later, the program launches. Funding therapy for women escaping family abuse, emergency housing, legal support, job training, education grants. Everything Abigail wished she'd had when she was drowning in her parents' cruelty. The applications flood in. Women from Portland, Seattle, across Oregon, across the country. Stories that mirror Abigail's own parents who gaslight, siblings who compete, families that destroy instead of nurture. Abigail reads every application, approves funding personally, signs checks with Eleanor's name in the memo line, a grandmother she barely knew, reaching back through time to heal wounds her son inflicted. Richard's in federal prison, 3 years for tax fraud, his company dissolved, assets seized, the mansion sold at auction for pennies on the dollar. Margaret lives in a studio apartment in Beaverton. Stroke damage limits her mobility. No friends visit. No country club lunches. Just silence and the weight of choices that destroyed everyone she claimed to love. Sophia works retail in Teagard. Her marriage ended 18 months ago. Her Instagram's private now. The perfect life dismantled, post by post, until nothing remained but reality. And Lucas? He sends Abigail an email every few months. Updates from wherever he's landed. Alaska, Montana, Wyoming. Always moving, always healing, working construction. Building things with his hands. Learning to trust the twin sister who survived when he couldn't. I'm proud of you, his last email said. Eleanor would be too. On a cool October evening, Abigail and Ethan stand in the forest behind their cabin. The trees are turning gold and crimson against evergreen. The air smells like pine and rain and possibility. Lights glow in the cabin windows. Their home. Their sanctuary. The structure built from pain and pride, that became a symbol of something larger. Do you ever regret it? Ethan asks quietly. Burning it all down? Abigail thinks about her parents' faces when the truth came out. About Sophia's tears. About the family that could have been if they'd chosen love over appearance. No, she says. They wanted me small, quiet, dependent, grateful for scraps. She leans into Ethan's warmth. But I built something louder than their silence. And it still stands. The Eleanor Initiative logo appears on her phone, a notification. Another woman approved for funding. Another life saved from the toxicity that almost killed Abigail's own. She thinks about Eleanor's diary. About a grandmother she never knew who saw the poison in her own son and chose to fight it anyway. About money left behind to heal what her bloodline broke. Come on, Abigail says, taking Ethan's hand. Dinner's getting cold. They walk back to the cabin, the one built without her parents' money, designed without their approval, standing as proof that the best revenge isn't destruction. It's creation. It's building a life so full, so purposeful, so undeniably successful that the people who said you'd fail become irrelevant. It's choosing yourself first, then using that strength to lift others. The cabin lights shine through the trees like a beacon. Inside, warmth, safety, love chosen, not inherited. Abigail Larson, once called a failure, once dismissed and degraded, now stands as proof that toxic families don't get the final word. You do. Your choices, your healing, your life built from the ashes of their cruelty. And it stands. It stands tall. It stands unshakable. It stands free. If Abigail's story resonates with you, if you've ever been called a failure by people who should have been your biggest supporters, if you've ever had to build a life from nothing because your family gave you nothing but pain, hit that subscribe button. Share this story with someone who needs to hear that escape is possible, that success is the ultimate answer to cruelty, and that the family you choose will always matter more than the one that chose to hurt you. Your story isn't over. Your cabin is waiting to be built, and you deserve every bit of freedom, success, and happiness that comes after you finally choose yourself.